This evening I would like to thank God for the opportunity that He has given to us again at the beginning of another Sabbath day to worship Him. I want all of us to look at the light. Light is a portion of electromagnetic radiation that is visible to the human eye, responsible for sense of sight. The purpose of light, we know that it illuminates the surroundings, it makes visibility clear, it guides and directs our way, it reflects. One of the properties of the light is that it reflects the surface. What is the biblical perspective of light? Before we study today, I like to refer to the word light in the scriptures. You will find 221 times the word light referred in the Bible. 144 times in the Old Testament and 77 times in the New Testament. We see the first uses of the word light in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 3. God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God's creation began with creating light. His creative power was exercised, and the first thing He does is to create light. Because He is about to create life on this earth, and life cannot exist without light. He then separates light from the darkness. If you are a Bible student, you will see this reference metaphorically used in throughout the scripture. God creates us, He enlightens us with His light, and then He separates darkness and the light. Darkness and the light cannot exist together. That explains the process of salvation and sanctification, setting us apart from darkness. After Exodus from Egypt, the children of Israelites, while they were passing through the desert, they were led by a pillar of fire at night, the light. And if the light moved, they moved. If the light stopped, they stopped. The light supplied by God illuminated their path to the promised land. And also, in the tabernacle, they had golden lampstands that gave the light to the altar where the sacrifices were made for the atonement of sin. Psalmist says, "Thy commandments are pure, and thy word is light to my path." Man does not have the ability to understand and distinguish between right and wrong unless he has the light. He cannot distinguish between dark and the light. Psalms 27:1 says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. He is guiding light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" The Lord is described as the salvation of righteousness, salvation of man. He is the guiding light that leads us ultimately to Christ, who is the salvation of light. God, through this light, directs our thoughts, direct our paths, direct our steps, so that we can see in the darkness, we will not stumble, and we can comprehend between right and wrong. God's light reveals the secret things of the world. He knows what is in the darkness because the light dwells in him. He is the source of light. Light begins with him. And since he is the source of light, and his light directs us and leads us to his justice. In the New Testament, John comes on the scene and he tells that this light is directly related to Jesus Christ. If we look at the 5 books of John, you will see that this theme is constantly running in his writings. John chapter 1, verse 4 and 5 says, "In him was light, in him was life, and the life was the light of men. And that light shines in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. He came to his own, and they received him not." They could not understand the light that was in the world. A story is told about a king who disguised himself in ordinary man's clothes he wanted to see how his subjects are doing. He takes a horse as a hunter and he goes from one place to another. And while he was passing through the woods, he came across a hermit who was in a lonely place in the hills. And at night he thought he would rest with him. So then he goes to his hut and then he says that, "I want to spend a night with you." And the sadhu, the hermit, says, "You are welcome. I don't have extra bed in my hut, but I have a fire here. So we'll keep the fire burning and we can spend the night, and morning you can proceed wherever you want to go." Whatever the hermit had, he shared with him. He gave him whatever he had to eat. And the king was satisfied and he had a rest. He had a long way around. And then in the morning, he thought this hermit shared whatever he had with him, so let me leave something for him. He didn't have anything else except his ring. He left his ring in the morning and he left. At the daybreak, hermit went into his hut cleaning up, and then he found the ring there. And when he looked at the ring, he saw the stamp of the king. And he cursed himself, "Had I known that person who stayed with me and spent the night with me was my king, I would have treated him better than the way I treated him." That's what happened. When Jesus came into this world, he came to his own. He was a light in the darkness, but they did not understand that this was God in flesh. The light of God, because they were in the darkness and they stumbled in it, they would not believe him whatever he said. because they loved darkness. They loved sin. Their pleasure was sin rather than righteousness. Sin is typically done in the darkness and in secret. And as we move through the Gospel of John, the 7th chapter, we see that the Feast of Tabernacle was at hand. And this feast was a great celebration for the Jews. It was also called the Feast of Lights. It was celebrated in a great excitement for the goodness of God towards Israelites throughout their journey in the desert. And when the time comes, all the people from the camp would gather at the temple site, and they would celebrate this feast with a great excitement. And before they begin celebrating, they had 4 lampstands. They will light the lampstands that will light the whole area around the tabernacle, and even the spills of light were lighting some of the houses close by the close area. It was probably getting dark in the evening. The lampstands were just lit, and Jesus Christ, along with his disciples, he was walking down towards the site where this celebration was to take place. And he looked at the faces of his disciples and who were following him. Their faces were reflecting the light from the lampstands. He looked at the lampstands, the light, the reflection that was coming back from their faces. And then he looked at them and he said, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. John chapter 8, verse 12. He says, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. This is the second I am statement from Jesus Christ. First was with Moses. It was incredible for the people to believe what he said, and they looked at Jesus with astonishment. But Jesus did not let that statement hang in the air. He said immediately, he described a positive aspect of his statement. He said, whoever follows me will not walk in the darkness, but have a light of life. Jesus applied the healing balm as well as a rebuke. He who will follow me will have the life of light, and who will not, just the opposite, death and darkness. Darkness can be described as absence of light. And Jesus is the light, and his absence from the life of a person is death. Why do people are unwilling to accept that light? Probably fear, pain, separation from friends and families, love of the world, which is darkness, pleasures of life. But Jesus removes that fear from us. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 14 to 16, we read, he says, you are the light of the world. Then first he calls himself and he shows and presents him. He is the light of the world. And then he says, you are the light of the world. The city that is lit, cannot be hidden, nor do they light a lamp and put under the basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to those who are in the house. And verse 16 says, let your light shine before men so that they may see your good work and praise and glorify your Father in heaven. And Paul says in Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 8, for you were once in darkness, but now you are the children of light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. And that is we are supposed to do. First he says, I am the light of the world, and he lights us with his lights, and he says, you are the light of the world. And that we can do only when we believe in him. When we have implicit faith on him, trust him, and trust his great sacrifice on the cross of Calvary, and have close relationship with him, and his relationship with us will impart his light to us. Jesus says this evening to all of us, you are the light of the world, and Jesus has given us his light, and he has made us light, and that light is for one purpose, and that purpose is to shine for him, like a lighthouse for the incoming ship. We are to shine for Lord who has given us the light. Let us keep burning. A story is told about a king who had 3 sons, and he was at the deathbed, and he wanted to hand over the throne to one of his sons. And as per the tradition and the custom of the land, the eldest son was supposed to inherit the kingdom. He was supposed to be crowned as king. But the eldest son was carefree, pleasure lover, lazy. And the king did not want his kingdom to fall into that kind of person's hand. He was reluctant to give him the kingdom. And then the second son was arrogant, short-tempered, self-seeking, and the king was not pleased with him either. The youngest son was intelligent, he was wise, he was compassionate, and he was compassionate, and he cared for others. And at his deathbed, he called 3 of his sons, and he said, I'm going to give you a test. And whoever stands in the test, whoever passes the test, will be crowned as the king. He called his ministers and his sons in the court, and he gave them 100 rupee or $100 bill. Take this money and fill this house. And whoever fills this house with the framework of time from sunrise to sunset will inherit the kingdom. So day was given. The first son, he went to the farmer, and he found a paddy hay which was lying in the field. He asked the farmer, and farmer said, it is free, take it. He only had to pay transportation. So with $100 bill, he could bring whatever he could before the sunset, and the room was half filled. And the second son came, and second son brought cotton, and that was also 3/4 of the room was filled. And the last son, the youngest one, the intelligent and wise person, He took $100 bill in his pocket. He went and he saw somebody who was needed medical aid. So he went and paid the bill in the hospital with a portion of his money. And then he went and he saw some homeless and he fed them. Then he walked around and he saw a widow who was struggling for bread, and he bought some ration for her. And then with a little money he left, he went to one store towards in the evening. And all the people were astonished. The youngest one is not doing anything, not bringing anything in the house. How is going to be king? So everybody thought maybe he doesn't want to be king. So everybody was waiting for the sunset as to what is going to happen and who is going to be the king. And towards the evening, before the sunset, he came to the court and he asked everybody to assemble and asked everybody to come into the room. And he gave candles to few of them. And he lit the candle. With one candle, he lit everybody's candle. And he said, lift up your candles. And everybody lifted up the candle. The room was filled with light. And lo and behold, he was crowned to be the king. Jesus has given that light to us. And today, he says, take this light and let it shine as a guide, as a tower house, or the lighthouse for the incoming ship, incoming people, and show them light and direct them to me, the true light, which is Jesus Christ. May the Lord help us, guide us, so that we may rise and shine for him, because he is the light who lights us.